Hello and welcome to the final instalment of the sheeting area for the front of the Falcon. It's human nature, I know, to leave difficult tasks to last. I haven't quite done that, but I know that doing this area here, as shown on the plan, is going to be a difficult ask. So it's time to tackle that now. You are provided with a helpful or not so helpful cutout, and it actually suggests that you cut this out and stick it to the required 332 balsa with the grain run in the appropriate direction, and then cut it out and stick it on. Well, I can almost guarantee, in fact I can guarantee, that that would never work, apart from the fact that you'd have the awful paper on the outside and then you'd have to peel it off. But experience has taught me that the shapes provided have never been tried on the prototype before they've been reproduced, and this is exactly that case. So what I did, I made a copy of this in paper, card rather, and that's what I came out with. So if I apply it to the model, it appears to almost fit, only because I've trimmed it and hacked it and altered it, but there's still an issue, and the issue is it's overlapping. If this was a clear acetone or cellulose covering, that would be fine, but I don't want that. I want there to be a lip around here that meets this part of the cowl, and that overlaps. So what have I tried? Well, I've got a stash of 1/64th ply that I got from an old friend, and this is it. And what I've done is I've drawn around by hand what I think to be the correct shape, and I've drawn inside here by simply just holding it out and drawing round by using my finger as a gauge. So that's the idea, and this is how I think I'm going to tackle it. This time I'm actually going to put it inside, because it's 1/64th. I was able to cut it with a pair of scissors, it's that thin. I'll put it in now. That's a perfect fit. So what I intend doing is gluing this 1/64th in place, and then gluing the balsa around the outside to give the desired edging to the window frame. This will be cut out, of course, and then I'll have a perfectly matching up window frame to the cowl and to the sides. Needs a little bit of fine adjustment, but that way I'll be able to guarantee a butt joint along that edge. Let's see how it goes. I've had an idea now. I'm going to use this, just a piece of scrap balsa, and I've pushed a pencil through, and I'm going to use this as a gauge to mark on the aperture for the window. Let's see if I can do it. Do you know what? That's worked surprisingly well. I surprise myself sometimes. Apart from this bit at the corner here. Yeah, I think that's going to work really well. Right, let's get that cut out and get it done. Being 1/64th ply, this should cut out nicely, so let's see. There we go. Let's try this in. There we go. That's worked really well. Let's zoom it in a little so you can see. And then I'll clad around the outside with balsa once this has been glued in. And I think that'll do the job. Lovely jubbly, as a famous comedy character says on British TV. Pleased with that. Let's apply a little glue to hold things in place. I'm not going to glue the whole thing at the moment, I just want to make sure it's lined up. So I'll glue the corners first. Rubbing the glue in with my fingers, super glue, it's not clever, is it? Do you know, I'm going to class this as an act of genius on my part working this out. I've been head scratching, as we all do, for days on how to approach this. I've seen a number of attempts to do this with this particular model. The neatest one actually didn't do this at all, but it was an acetate sheet around the outside that was then screwed in place, and I just don't want to do that. I want it to flow in. So there you go. There you go. The next thing to do is obviously to tack it round to make sure it's stuck to this here, this front cowl area. And once that's done, I'll clad around here with the grain going vertically, cutting it round. And I'll do it in pieces and then just sand it in. I think it'll work really well. Let's see. Here we go. I've just cut this out. I'll remove these. I'll use this as a template for the other side, and we'll add this on here. And I think that looks rather neat. Needs to be sheeted here as well, but we're getting there, one step at a time. Well, there you have it. That's both sides done. I did actually go work from the drawings on the plan and they were fine for this. It's just these curved areas never seem to have been tested out first. I still need to cover this in balsa, and then once that's done, a couple of little bits at the back on both sides, and I can call this part of the job completed. Scalloping to do, it's more of a finishing off process. I'll do that when I sand the whole thing down, and then I can turn my attention to the cowl area next. I hope you can see now the advantage in having this inner support structure made out of 1/64 ply. All I need to do now is to mark off and piece round the balsa all the way around the structure, and then I'll have it flush with the sides and the front cowl area, and it'll all be nice and neat. That's the idea anyway. So I'm basically marking off the positions of the wood, cutting it slightly oversize, and then trying it in position. I simply wet that. It'll bend a little bit. Cut out the angle. There we have it. That's a little bit higher than it needs to be, but I can then simply file that down, sand that down into position. So let's stick a little bit of glue in here. Binds really well to the ply. There we have it. And that's glued in place. So all I need to do when it's all done is to sand it down to the ply, and I'll have that done. I'll carry on and we'll come back when it's all completed and sand it down. I'll let you see the finished product. Well, I'm calling this front end finished now. It only needs a very light sand down when the overall structure's done. I'm really pleased with that. Placing the 1/64 ply inside has provided a really nice guide to actually put the balsa over the top, and then once all that's sanded down, the glazing goes in after the covering, and I only really need to do, for this part of the build at least, these couple of little triangles at the rear, sand that flush, and next week's project will be the front end and how am I going to tackle that. But overall, really pleased with that. Couldn't ask for more. I didn't want to actually have the windscreen screwed onto the front. I wanted it like this. It'll make for interesting covering later on, but that's what I'm after. Thanks for watching now. Take care.